Hello and welcome back to episode 17, I think it's 17, of Genre Blender, the podcast that celebrates all things storytelling. My name is Kris.
And I'm Ryan. And yes, we're back. The podcast is back. I'm back from Japan. And we got a whole episode today on cozy games and books and stories in general, TV
Just
shows, movies
cozy.
as well. Cozy stuff.
And we've already had the conversation about S or Y. No, S or Y? S or Z.
You can
Um,
spell.
I can spell good, thank you so much. And all the Americans are going to come for me for saying Z, not
Yeah,
Z.
what is Z? Yeah, well, I don't know what I'm going to put for the title. I've still got to figure
Up
that
in the
out.
air.
Yeah,
Our
cozy.
algorithm's going to
Yeah,
want Z for sure. Like,
probably.
yeah.
Probably. There'll be people saying it's the correct way.
Yeah, but you are back from Japan, so how was that? Speaking of cozy, I feel like they have an abundance of cozy gaming, cozy culture. I don't know, is Hello Kitty cozy? I don't know. Tell us about
E-
your trip.
Everything was cozy except for the streets of Tokyo.
Fair, fair. And you got sick over there, or your partner got sick over there.
We all did, yeah. Like all four of us got sick over there. Long story. I won't bore everyone with it here, but yeah. Look, the trip was great. It was long. We actually had a good 3.5 weeks. Spent a few days in Singapore and all of that, and then yeah, Japan for 3 weeks, and we went to Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. Um, had a few day trips here and there, Odaiba, some places. But yeah, it was really good, and can't wait to go back. The minute we got back, we were just like, cool, when are we going back again?
I did see that you had a 2027 trip, potentially already like in the books. Like the second you got back from holiday, like all right. But the deer park looked cool. So Ryan was updating Rachel and I with like a shared photo album, and like yeah, some of the I think I got like 400 photos of convenience store food, Ryan.
Yeah, probably close to that number. I mean, that wasn't even all of it. I haven't even finished uploading all those photos yet because there's so many I took on my actual camera. But yeah, there's so much good everything, food, places to go, things to see. It's just everything's better in Japan, as they say. It's true.
Well, he definitely gave me FOMO. So the Rachel and I were looking at the photos and being like, oh.
Yeah,
why are we going to America? Like we could have done I don't know a month in Japan for the same amount of money.
absolutely. Have to go. I'd recommend it to literally everyone because there's something there for everyone. But like to circle back around, yeah, there's like a lot of cozy kind of things as well. So get to talk about some of that today. And a bit of a spoiler alert: I have been playing.
I saw the second you got back.
Second I got back, I was like, okay, it's time for Assassin's Creed Shadows, going back to feudal Japan because I just don't want to be home yet.
Yeah, I'm not done. I'm not done with Japan. Therefore, I've got to come back to it. I pre-ordered that for Rach and it arrived on the day. Um, I don't think she's played it yet, but I imagine that when she does, she'll be stuck into it. There are some things with Assassin's Creed that like shits her to no end, like mostly gameplay and combat related. But the settings, at least of the later games, are so like vivid and cool
Yeah,
that she'll suffer through it.
yeah, pretty much the same. And this one is something else. Like the actual environment is amazing, so I think she'll have a good time with it. But the story is actually good. We'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, I'm actually quite impressed. But yeah, anyway, well, look, we're back. So we'll do a little bit of a read, watch, play update because I'm curious what you've been up to as well because it's been a minute, and we'll go through some things. It'll probably tie quite a lot into our theme for today because most of the things I'll be talking about are just naturally cozy things, and you as well probably. So we'll go through that, and then we'll go through a little bit into the topic itself, and sort of dive deeper into that. So yeah, so I'll let you go first. What have you been up to, just in general sense, and then also reading, watching, playing?
Just work, man. I was saying like before we jumped on that I work in international freight and like specifically in customs, and just the trade tariff nonsense happening in the world right now is impacting quite a lot. So Australia is having to be tuned into that and watching what is happening. It's meaning our numbers, like our we call it bonds. So shipments coming into cages and having to stay in cages because all of our bases have limited room, right? So we have to try, like our KPIs are mainly around clearance on arrival. So clearing shipments before they hit Australia so they can just go out for delivery. It's just not happening because a lot of panic importing is happening.
Yeah,
But outside of, I guess, work stuff, really trying to focus on my own writing and setting up a routine. So it's non-daylight savings time now, which means I get an extra hour in the morning, and
yes,
trying to use that hour to look at my manuscript every day, but also just been like inundated with beta reads and alpha reading. So any spare second really has been going to either reading my own work or reading somebody else's work. Um, not a bad problem to have. It just means there's not a lot of spare time. And I was
Yeah,
saying earlier before we sort of jumped on is that I had to really start getting okay with that whole something's got to give mentality and being okay with that right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have, ironically, well, not really, watched a lot more TV than I normally would, and that is normally an indicator that something does have to give to me. Like my
yeah,
brain needs that downtime.
totally.
Um,
Same for me, actually. We'll talk about it, but yeah, that's a good point to make and ties into the topic pretty well.
yeah, I was like, "What have you read?" Because you told me that there wasn't a lot over the last month. I can't talk about a lot of what I've read because it's like alpha
Yeah,
and beta reads. Yeah,
yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, look, nothing. I just so the plane ride over was a bit chaotic. I won't get into why, but that was a bit of a thing. And then so I wasn't really like super relaxed enough to read on the plane. And then over there, we were just so busy. So, like, it was such a jam packed trip. We did everything, and we did something every day, and there wasn't a lot of downtime. Um, even even getting sick over there, you'd think there would be more downtime to just not do
nah.
things, but no. Like the stress of having to find a doctor overseas, that's a whole thing. But yeah, so we were busy, and then I just didn't get any reading done during the trip. And then on the plane ride home, I watched 3.5 movies. So I've
All
done
right.
zero
Well,
reading.
I mean, you've done some watching. It's interesting because every time I go to Sydney, like I'm there twice in May, and I'll talk about it once we're off the podcast. But I always go with the intention of, okay, well, I've got 3 or 4 nights where I'm not doing a whole lot, so I'll take a book.
Yeah.
I just those days are usually so full, and then
Mhm.
like people because it's a a novelty to have me there with my team, so I'll like put on dinners and stuff, and I'll go out
Yeah.
with them or hang out with them. By the time I get back to the hotel, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah. I just want to crash, right?
I'll
As you
watch
said.
something stupid and then go to bed.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Traveling when you're saying you're taking your books to see if you could come to like enjoying it. I was like, there's no reading happening.
No, I had lofty ambitions for that. Like, I planned to take a couple of like Japanese books, to read over there and get the whole thing. Like, maybe go sit under the sakura trees and just enjoy it. And it's like that's not the it wasn't the holiday. Next time, maybe.
There's too many convenies to visit.
There was. I had too much eating to do, so
Hmm.
and drinking for that matter. Drank so much sake. It was great.
I know sake is one thing I cannot get into, and like just seeing them all, it's like I'm glad you're having a good time. That is all for you.
So good, man. So yeah, so no reading for me. And you can't talk about your reading. That's fair. What about? So tell me about these TV shows. I'm curious. What have you been watching?
So Rachel and I actually got up to date with Wheel of Time. So when you were gone, I think this is the first time I've been up to date with a TV show. As I mean,
Nice.
watched the last released episode last night, and now we're waiting for the next one. I think this is probably the first time I've been up to date with a TV show since Rachel and I got together, and that is coming up to 7 years in a couple of weeks. So
Wow.
I normally will tap out of TV shows like 3 episodes from the end, and I will forget they exist. So um, so that was Wheel of Time. I am watching Yellow Jacket, so we were up to date until this latest season got released, and I think we're 3 or 4 episodes behind. But I started also watching Mid Century Modern, which is done by the people who created Will and Grace, and also I think it's produced by Ryan Murphy, who's done the American Horror Story stuff. But they're all like queer, and it's a middle-aged, just funny queer sitcom. It's about 3 gay men in their 50s to 60s. Nathan Lane is in there as one of them, and Matt Bomber. I'm not sure the name of the other actor who's there, and I wasn't sure at first because a lot of laughing tracks, like it's very
Uh,
90s sitcom
yeah.
esque, but there are some very like funny and like you have to be in the queer community to really get a lot of the references, but I'm enjoying it. If you can get over like the sensory issue of the laughing tracks, because for me it's like grating
Yeah.
in
It can
my
be.
ear.
Mhm.
But Matt Bomber does not play dumb very well, and he tries to play like, in my opinion, and he's playing a dumbass in this show. But I don't know. It's if I'm looking for something just cozy or dumb to turn the brain off, it's done the trick.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, what were the movies that you watched? I haven't done a lot of movie watching, but TV's definitely been.
Yeah. Um. So the 3.5 movies on the plane. So I watched I watched The Watchers. All of these were from
Oh yeah,
2020.
was that good?
No.
Okay, because I've got the book, and I was like, maybe I'll just read the book.
So I didn't expect much from it, but it looked interesting. So the premise, I'll read the little blurb. It says a young artist gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside three strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night. Like that sounds freaking cool, right? Even like for someone who doesn't really like fantasy, that sounds cool.
I was like,
It was
sounds
awful.
better as a book.
Well, I'm sure it is. No, it was awful. Don't waste your time.
You know,
So
I
that was
have to watch it now. Like the second someone says "Don't waste time," I'm like, I have to. I must.
I want those like it wasn't even a long movie, but it's like a couple of hours. I want that time back. Um, so that was the first one I watched. Anyway, after that I watched The Crow, the new The Crow, and I'm a big fan of the original. And I was actually looking forward to this one because it came out. I think it was like 30 years to the year later.
Is that Bill Skarsgård?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which you either kind of love or hate, I suppose. But it wasn't good. So I guess I was
So
watching
we've
that.
had a very mid-flight thus far.
Indeed, which is
So
fine. I'm fine with it being like if I'm on a plane watching a movie, I'm fine with watching a bad movie. If I was home, I'd be like kind of mad, but it was
you turn it
fine.
off and you'd leave, but you're
Yeah,
trapped on a
yep.
flying vehicle, so you do what you got
To be
to do.
fair, there was other things to choose, but I'm glad I watched it. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't as bad as The Watchers, but it just the relationship between Eric and Shelley, I think her name is. Like the whole movie hinges on you believing that relationship to be the most important thing in the world, ever. And if you don't buy into that relationship, the whole thing falls apart. And I just didn't buy into the relationship. I just thought that it was convoluted and weird. So anyway, that was just my take. I'm sure some people like it. The original's way better. But then I
Right,
watched
we're getting so old.
I kind of love hating on these movies. I feel like the only negative criticism I give anything on this show is like movies mostly because I
You
don't really
kids
watch
nowadays, you
movies.
don't understand. You
Mm.
don't understand.
Yeah, things used to be so much better. No, I watched the film of Small Things Like These based on the Claire Keegan book that I read and loved that book. It was fantastic. The movie was so true to the book, and it's just nice to have that.
Okay, you
I'll
got a
read a
good
little.
one.
Yeah, it was one good one out of 3.5. I'll tell you the half in a minute. Um, but it stars Killian Murphy, and he's just like he can do no wrong, I suppose. But especially in this role, it was just perfect. It was a great movie. It's not very long. It's good, but I would suggest reading the book first because the book's it's a novella, really. It's quite short. But it's about like an Irish family and life in Ireland and the Catholic Church and things like that. So it's a little bit like go into it knowing that, but it was a very good film. Um, and then the half was Twisters, which I didn't finish.
Funny that that movie got cut off.
Yeah, I know. And I'll probably actually go back and watch that one because I was quite enjoying it.
That also is a remake, isn't it?
It is the original. To tie it back into this episode, the original is probably the movie that I've watched the most times, like one single movie watched the most times. I loved Twister, the original Twister. As a kid, it was my primary school memory movie. Like that's the one I think about. And this one's pretty decent from what I've watched, but I'm only about a quarter of the way through. So we'll see.
I feel like Plane Rides is also where I watch most of the movies that I pick up. I know I set a goal of like 25 for this year. You think I've touched them since the last
Of
time I checked
course
in?
not. Of
No, absolutely not.
course not. We just ran
But
it in December.
I do have 4 flights to Sydney coming up, so I will probably smash a bunch of movies. One of them does have to be the last Lord of the Rings movie because I am determined to actually watch it.
You'll
And
just fall asleep.
if I'm gonna sit down for 3 hours, like that is the time
Well,
to
if you want
do
to sleep on the plane, just put on a Lord of the Rings film, and then at
I liked the
least for me,
first and the second one. I mean, I like the books better, but I feel like that's not unpopular.
I wish I was that person that liked those movies or read the books.
It's alright. It's okay. We accept you for who you are. So over here, Wonder, we're about to get into a topic that like I love, and I saw in the notes that you had a spicy take on something. So like I'm looking forward to that. But gaming outside of Assassin's Creed Shadows or that as well. What have you been up
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, there's four really that I've been focusing on. I finally finished Killer Frequency, the one I talked about, I don't
Yeah.
know, back in January probably. And it's only it's less than 10 hours. It's probably like a 5-hour game. I just didn't finish it. So I finished it yesterday. It was great. Love that. It's such a great little indie game. Highly recommended. The story is fantastic. But like the puzzly stuff as well, it's not like annoying. It's great. Basically you're playing as like a radio DJ, the person with you've got this whole like switchboard set up, and there's like a killer on the loose, and you've got to the 911 calls are being routed to your little desk, and you have to take the calls on the air. It's really cool. So definitely recommend that. Monster Hunter Wilds, Steph and I have been playing that a little bit. Still super early game, still playing the campaign, but having a blast with it. They've really gone back to their roots. But I don't think you're a fan of Monster Hunter as far as
I've never played it.
oh, really?
I've always wanted to, but because they're such big games, and like I'll really delve into this when we talk about cozy gaming because it's sort of where I see it a lot of the time. Monster Hunter Wilds, like now that I know there's an element where it is multiplayer, like maybe I'm just very poor,
Yeah.
so I need to wait until it isn't $110 on Steam.
Yeah, well, that's true. It is crossplay, so we can actually play together, even though I'm on PlayStation. So that's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
like I would like
and
to do something like that.
you can dip in and out of it too, which is quite fun. And that's kind of how Steph's been playing it. I've kind of been like gung ho on the campaign, but it's good. You can just jump in and out. Um, so that's good. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Well, I'll talk more about that once I've finished. And then last but not least, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake. I'm sure it means nothing to you,
No,
but
no, I've done a Dragon Quest. I haven't played them, but I've definitely seen a Dragon Quest or two.
yeah, I streamed the 11, I think Dragon Quest 11 back in the day. Not that long ago, but that was fantastic. And this is really great as well. I love these little remakes. They're doing the HD 2D treatment, which I'm pretty sure you're a fan of as well. Like it's like pixel art, but it's new and cool, and there's like a lot of depth behind the in the distance and stuff. So yeah, very cool. Yeah. Anyway,
I
that's me.
feel like we could do a whole video just on pixel art gaming because I was thinking about it as we were looking, as I was researching cozy. I'm like, they're not all cozy. Like it's just a genre of gaming.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've been busy, regardless if you haven't read very much.
Yeah, but everything else.
And then you're sick when you got back, so like not picking that up. So we will talk about butter at some point
Yeah,
when you
yeah. I'm
get
gonna
back to
try
it.
to read it maybe for next episode, so maybe we'll have something after that to talk about. But yeah, it's definitely still it's it's
It's on
right
the
here.
radar somewhere. Yeah. Oh,
So
you got the physical book. It's a cool
yeah.
looking book.
Mm,
I just
yeah.
like looked at my notes for it. Like I took notes just in case it was a while, and there's like a page and a half of notes on butter
Nice.
just to remind myself. Um, cool. I thought I would leave my gaming check in to the end just because it ties into the
Sure.
cozy topic there. So I have probably picked up 3 cozy games over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, it's been quite a time, and I don't want to say stressful because I haven't necessarily been stressed, but I have felt that I have not had time to sit down and sink my teeth into anything, regardless of what that
Yeah.
is. If I'm talking about reading, I am reading a book called The Crimson Fire at the moment, which I can talk about because it's an arc, but it's I don't know 460 pages, and I'm reading it just for funsies, like because I want to, not an obligation read. Not that I love that term, but I am at 38%, and it's been 2 weeks. Whereas normally a book like that, I would be like, I'll smash that in a week and then move on to the next thing. At the moment, I'm really just stealing 10 minutes when I can on it, and I'm enjoying it enough to want to keep going, but I'm not able to sit down and read it for an hour. I've just got too much stuff going, and like I will tend to read it right at the end of the day, like when I'm in bed. So I've got like 10 minutes before that Kindle hits me directly in the face, like before I fall asleep.
I know that well.
Um, so yeah, I had grand plans of a very busy and productive TBR this month with arcs and things that I want to read, but I think I'll get that and a novella in. I am also reading or listening, I should say, to The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones, book 3 in the Indian Lake trilogy. It's a slasher horror series, and I think you need to at least have more knowledge of slashers than I do to really get it, because I'm getting very bogged down in like the references, and I know some of them because I grew up in the 90s, so I feel like late 80s to like the 2010s there was a lot of slasher horror that came
Yeah.
out, so I get like the references of Scream and Freddy and all that, But when they start talking about more modern ones, I'm like, I have no idea what we're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. But I will say that I've enjoyed the character development of our main character from book 1 to book 3, and that's what's keeping me there. So I'm listening to that. I will actually finish that next week, so I'll probably talk about that in the next episode. But
Nice.
gaming, I've picked up a game called Fields of Mystria. Let me look. What did I actually?
This is cool because I probably won't know these
Mystria.
necessarily. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
see. So, yeah, cool.
So Fields of Mystria launched in 2024, and it was. I tend to wait on Steam to see the positive rating, and this one also hit overwhelmingly positive with quite a lot of reviews. And
Nice.
it is the one that I see them get compared to Stardew Valley the most. Now, I don't necessarily love that because I think Stardew Valley did open a wave of very similar games of that genre, but then I went down the rabbit hole of like YouTube and watching the differences and things like that. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So I started that. I'm not far into it, probably 3 hours or so. So I did start that. I also started one called Kinseed, which is again similar. You wake up, you're being looked after by your grandfather or your uncle or something, and you're on a farm. The map for this is quite big. But what I liked about Kinseed is that you grow up with the character. So you follow this character over a lifespan. So at the moment, like I'm a kid, I'm only like 4 hours or so into it. But you eventually become an adult. You get the generational, like your uncle will pass away, you take over. So you get that element, whereas you don't in things like Stardew Valley. So I thought that was quite interesting. Some of the mechanics are a little bit repetitive, and I haven't loved that. So I did like jump into Fields of Mystria to see what that was about. Haven't tapped out by any means. I'll go back to it at some point. And I also picked up something called Pixel Cafe. Shocking 0 people who listen to this podcast, and I've gone like cozy food based related game. And this is exactly what it sounds like. Like you get dropped off at your grandmother's house to go and start a new life, and it's just like, I don't know, it reminded me very much of like Facebook games circa like 2008 to 2009, where you're just like sitting there with like, I don't know, a hot plate and you're serving customers. That's it. That's all you do. But it's
Right.
still somehow strangely addicting.
Mhm.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
one more day, whatever. It takes like 3 minutes to do a day. And then all of a sudden you've been playing it for 2 hours. You're like, what have I
Oh, yeah.
actually done with my life? Like in this, nothing. I've achieved 0 things, but my brain does legitimately feel relaxed.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 3 that I've picked up recently. I've been playing a lot of Traveler's Rest, and I'll get into why, because I think we're going to delve into that a little bit as to what the pull is, and is it, do you go back to things consistently or do you change it up all the time, and that sort of ties into this. I'll save that
Sure.
for there.
Yeah,
Sorry,
cool.
I get very excited about cozy games.
No, I like to see you excited about games. It's fun. It's fun for me. Yeah, those are titles I have zero idea about. So but I will say like those the what's it called, Pixel Cafe. Um, is that, did I get that right?
Pixel Cafe, yeah.
It's cool. Okay. Yeah, those like two genres that go together really well would be like, yeah, like a farming or life sim type thing and food. So yeah, cafe kind of
Some sort
genre.
of hospitality esque
Yeah. Oh yeah.
situation. There's one that I'm looking forward to called, I think it's like just Innkeeper's something. I mean, it's been pushed. Early release has been pushed, but I'm like, I'm watching. Like the second that comes out.
Get your eyes on all those games. Yeah, no, that's cool. Are you playing all these on Steam?
Yeah, which, if we can go on a tangent just quickly, I
We
don't
love
think I'm going
tangents.
to pre-order Switch 2,
Oh, that's a hot
because
take.
I think my next console is actually going to either be the Xbox, which the prototype got, it has been showcased. I think it's going to be like 2 grand from what I've
Ooh,
seen of it, but it looks like it's got the Steam library built in as well as Xbox Game Pass, and I'm like, that has got my loyalty if it's a portable. So potentially that, or I'll fork out and get a, what are they called? ROG Ally,
yeah.
the Asus.
I, I can see you with one. You've been talking about that for a while, so I can
It's
see
just
you
because
with one
I'm
of these.
playing more from Steam, but I prefer
Mm.
to be able to carry it around if I can.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
I'm
but
a
yeah, I
massive
don't
header
know.
as well. Mm. Yeah.
I, I thought about getting the Legion, which is cheaper, but I think that's Lexus. I think that is the Lexus that does that. Only because I only play pixel art. Like I don't need huge
Right.
capacity.
Yeah.
Like,
that's to be honest, that's why I love the Steam Deck so much, because it's literally handheld Steam. My Steam library handheld. I don't have to deal with Windows and all that stuff, and it's simple, and all my games are there. And I don't need the grunt either, because again, it's mostly just like older games or whatever.
Like
Um,
indie games as well. They tend to be smaller.
Indie
Like
games,
yeah.
emulation as well. Yeah, I'm playing a lot on my Steam Deck at the moment. Also streaming all my PS5 games to my Steam Deck.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it's basically a PS5 Portal, I think it's called. You don't need that if you've got a Steam Deck already. It does the same thing. So yeah, it's fantastic for that. So
And
I can play all my games centered.
have you got the X or have you got the original?
The OLED, you mean
Yeah.
the newer one? Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah. It's
so
got slightly
jealous.
faster Wi-Fi as well, so the streaming works pretty well. I highly
Talk about
recommend
that off camera.
it. Yeah, that's why I've been playing so many games lately, just because I can play them anywhere. That was the ultimate goal, and it's a reality now, which is great. Kid me is like having the best time right now, knowing that in the future.
And this is
Um,
what happens when you don't have children. You get to do things like this.
yep, exactly right. Cool. So yeah, so that's some cozy games for you, which is good. Do you want to dive? Like, it's probably a good segue into the
Yeah, for
actual
sure.
topic itself, right? Because I think when thinking about this topic, I was sort of thinking about it in two ways. Mostly cozy games. That's what came to mind, and part of it was and you mentioned it off stream, but the Witchbrook trailer announcement that
Oh,
came out.
I am actually considering taking a day off work, which is something I never do. But like, if I'm going to actually sit there for a day in game, like I was like, maybe I will ask to take a day off because I probably will.
Totally. I mean, highly recommend doing that for new release games. It looks amazing. It's not really my kind of go-to game, but I will say I looked at that trailer and I was just
It's
like,
so beautiful.
so
It's
pretty.
such a beautiful game, and like it's so amazing that pixel art can capture that as
Yeah,
well.
I know.
Um,
But I think
and
it goes like to the nth degree. Like I don't think I've seen a pixel art game quite like that before.
I mean, Chucklefish did really take his time with it, though. Like, he has pushed the release and pushed the release and pushed the release. He's like, I want to get this right. I gave you Stardew Valley, which, to put that into perspective, I would not call myself a gamer in a normal sense of the word. I've sunk 386 hours into Stardew Valley. I looked it up before
Yeah,
this
wow.
episode. I was like, so and I think it's just him, and he recently hired one other person to do it.
Is it the same develop? I thought it was the publisher Chugglefish. Like
I
they developed and published it, so I think it's a
I
slightly different
believe, yeah,
thing.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know the answer to that. I would have to look it up. But yeah, I know that it's been pushed and pushed and pushed because they wanted to get it right and they wanted to give a product that was bigger
Yeah.
and better. And I was like,
100%. And they don't do like Chucklefish is pretty well known for like not doing like a lot of crunch kind of
yeah,
getting it
no,
out
not at
there.
all.
So it's I'm
And
glad they took the time with it. Looks great.
yeah, I was like, I mean, as a consumer, even for big release games, like they just pushed Fable, which is probably, it's not cozy, but it is one that I will very likely buy and actually put time into. They've pushed that to 2026. I'm like, good. I would rather you push it and give me a good product than give me something
So,
crap like when Cyberpunk first released and they had all those
yep.
issues with it.
You'd think game developers and publishers, it's probably partly mostly their fault, would learn from these lessons, but it still happens where
Nah, dude.
they go half-assed. Yeah.
And I'm
Uh,
sure they don't feel like it's half-assed, but like it's anytime a new system goes out in any workplace and you feel like you've done your testing environments and whatever, and then it hits the floor and it's just fucking chaos. Like,
mhm.
it doesn't matter what it is.
Kind of like us before the podcast started. We were just
Yeah.
running around trying to fix things.
Timely.
Yeah, always. Yeah. But all of that is to say, I suppose, that there's a massive genre of like with cozy games. It's a huge genre, and it's kind of cool to have all of these games, on the horizon. But also, I think during the pandemic as well, that was like a big reason a lot of these games even exist. So I'd like to sort of talk about the game part of it, but then also I do want to circle back around to like what you consider to be a cozy book, because I think we probably have slightly different definitions of that, and for games as well. Do you want to go into like what you consider your definition of a cozy game? Do you want to start with that, because I know you've
Yeah.
done
I
it.
I went down a like mad hyperfocus train this morning. It's like, yes, it's my time to shine. I mean, I actually don't love a cozy book, which is interesting, and I'm not sure why that is, although I have theories, like psychological reasoning behind why that is. Whereas games, I do tend to gravitate towards something cozy. I think it really comes down to not pressuring the player. So I think if we're looking at categorizing what a cozy game is, it's a game that isn't necessarily no stakes, but potentially low stakes and not stressful. And often, when I read the definition, it says not violent. Now, I would argue that in the case of some cozy games, because Dave the Diver is violent against fish. But I would call it a cozy game, and also like if a shark comes out of nowhere, it's fucking terrifying. But I would still call that a cozy game. So I think if we're looking at a definition, it is something that is relatively low stakes, has a easy learning curve. There's not a huge learning curve to the game. Like you get in there and within, I would say, 20 minutes to an hour, you understand what your mechanics are. And also something that is not time bound. You don't have to do certain things within a day. And I know that's why Stardew Valley stressed you out, but I would argue that Stardew Valley is still a cozy game because even though you've got a day you need to be in bed by whatever it is, like 2 a.m., and you start getting like told that you're about to like faint at midnight. I was always in bed like by 10 because that's just 2 a.m. as a person. I was like, all right, well, I'm in bed by 10. But you're not pressured to do X, Y, or Z on a day. You don't have to get things done on a day. You just do what you want to do. And I think that's the appeal of it to me anyway. What would your definition be?
Yeah, I think there is like an actual definition, and then I think there is our own personal definition. Because I think if you're looking at the actual definition, like if we're mentioning, hey, do you like any cozy games? If I said that to you or someone else, I think everyone kind of knows, oh, it's like a Stardew Valley or a,
Mm.
like a, what's the Harvest Moon or Animal Crossing or, those kinds of games where a lot of sim games, like life sim games or farming sim games, a lot of those fall into that category. But I think you're right. I think it's like the low stress, low stakes, relaxing things that give you energy rather than take it away from you. Those are, I think, most people's definition of a cozy game. For me, it's a little bit broader because I do consider a lot of JRPGs to be cozy games. That's kind of why I'm drawn to them, because I can play them after a crazy day at work or, whatever, and I still have spoons to be able to play those kinds of games. Whereas something like, I don't know, Call of Duty, not that I'm interested in that anyway.
What a
But
cozy
there's
game.
that, right? So everyone plays it. No violence at all in those games. So yeah, I'm pretty broad on the definition of it for myself, and the same for it would be for books as well, and we'll get to that. But like for me, a lot of it comes down to repetition and knowing what to expect, managing those expectations, and knowing that there's not going to be like a crazy jump scare or something in a game or a book or whatever.
Which is
Yeah,
interesting because I think that's why I don't like cozy books. It's because I'm there to invest time and to build on a world. But then again, like if we're talking about cozy games, ironically, it's where I will sink the most time into because I'm not stressed.
yeah,
I am turning off, so I'm more likely to spend more time doing that
mhm,
than something that is causing me distress.
yeah, yeah. Interestingly, I think a lot of the games that I'm drawn to are because they're story games compared to yourself, which you'll read you'll read your stories, and the games are for other purposes, right? Usually, but for me, it's very much I love my story games. That's pretty much all I play. And interestingly, some of those can be quite um, the opposite of cozy, depending on the story. Because sometimes some stories get a bit like for example, I'm playing Persona 5, and I've been playing Persona 5 since it came out. I still haven't finished. And the reason I haven't finished it yet is because the story gets pretty heavy. And also, on top of that, because you have so much choice of the things that you can do, sometimes it does get a little bit overwhelming. Like you're trying to sort of min max it a little bit and get the best social links and things and try to maximize those. And that can sort of take away from the cozy nature of it as well. But I realize that's mostly on me because I'm getting in my own way. I'm playing it that
Mm.
way. I could just play it super cozy and just do whatever, kind of like Stardew. So I think it does come down to sort of your approach to the game as well as the actual like definition of what a cozy game is as well.
But then we have things like Overcooked, which is People say it's a cozy game. I don't
Yeah,
know if
is
you
that a
ever
cozy
played with
game or is
Rachel,
that
but it is not fucking cozy. Like, she is so mean in a fake kitchen. Like, which is so funny because she hates cooking,
wow?
like in real life. But if she is managing a kitchen, she is managing a kitchen, and that is not cozy.
Hell
Doing it in game form. Um,
no.
but
Much
like,
swearing, I'm sure.
yeah, so much swearing, and like you can like fake swear with your characters as well. You press a button, they like have
Yeah,
all the symbols come across their head.
so so good. It's very
um,
realistic.
I think collectively between Jim, our housemate, Rachel, and I, we've probably sunk over 100 hours into Overcooked.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
The
we
first
used
one
to
or
the
both?
second one. We used to play every Friday night for a couple of
Right.
hours over drinks. We were living separately, and now we play Stardew. Like we have a Stardew date planned tonight after we go and get sunset beers. We're coming back to play Stardew as a family. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I think it's kind of wild to me how long cozy games have been around. And I put a question in our little show notes to say, when do you think they started? Like, what was the start? Because yes, I would also argue that the pandemic we really saw an upwards trend in cozy gaming because people's brains were so full and it just offered an escape. And I think that's when uh, Animal Crossing, I want to say New Horizons, I think that was the last one that came out was around pandemic time. And I was looking at how many hours I've played these cozy games and I've clocked 130 hours in Animal Crossing. And I was like,
Yeah.
I did not think I'd put that much time in. But I have a very clear memory of spending like 2 days mid pandemic on a lounge room floor where I wanted to take Rachel on a date, but we couldn't go outside. So I set up an island and I like terraform this island and I created different areas in the island and we went on a virtual date. So we were in like separate rooms.
That's cool.
And I was like, all right, come to my island. I'm going to take you on this Animal Crossing date. It's like the nerdiest shit you've ever heard. But I
That
was
is
like, I
cool.
can't take you outside. So I like built this campground and like I had like fake dinner on it. This wood fired pizza, and like I don't know, it was funny.
So
And then
cool.
like we went to like the beach, and I set up a little like activity zone on the beach. And, like it took me so fucking long. I reckon 50 of those 130 hours
Just setting up the date.
was setting up a virtual date, which lasted like 10 minutes. But
That's
um,
freaking perfect though. But isn't that cool? Like you can like the reason I love those games so much, and even though I'm a story based gamer, like 100%, the reason I like those kinds of games so much is you're making your own stories and they're
mm,
affecting your real life, and you're having those experiences with real people as well, if they're multiplayer games too. And that's just cool, man. That's just like the coolest thing. Love it.
something's very
Um,
nerdy,
yeah, no, it's
but
super
it was
nerdy, but
fun. Yeah, yeah.
I was just looking up while you were talking as well. I was looking up when the first Animal Crossing came out, and I think it was 2001.
Was it that long ago?
Yep, yep. And that was, I think, on was it the game? Was
DS?
it earlier? I might have been 64. Yeah,
No,
Nintendo 64. Yep. So yeah, the original one. So and it wasn't as big here, I don't think, at the time. I know the GameCube one did get pretty big.
I remember the first DS one
Yeah.
because I've been a handheld game. I mean, I've been a Nintendo fanboy, which is why it hurts to not get the Switch too. But you do what
So
you gotta do. But I remember that one, and then the one on the Switch.
yeah, I think that's when it started to get bigger here as well, when it was on the DS, and handheld sort of changes those games quite a bit. But yeah, that was it's been a while, and I don't know if it created the category. I don't know. There's probably games that came before it that it probably drew
Stardew
from
came before it.
before
Sorry,
2001.
no, before New Horizons, which is what
Oh
I'm
right,
like
gotcha.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
so you're right. Like it's been a category that's been around for a while.
I actually looked up. I mentioned this briefly before we were filming, but I feel like cozy gaming has been around for a such a long time in different formats and it's done different things over its timeline. So for example, I was looking at Farmville and I looked at the evolution of Farmville. So this is when Facebook took off and they had a whole bunch of Facebook games. Like I very fondly remember Cafe World, again, not shocking anyone, but like I sunk hours into that. And I think it was a way when social media was really taking off with these social media platforms, and it was a way to connect with people sort of around the world. And then it became like a money gouging situation where like you had to pay real money,
Mm.
for these
That's right.
games. But like Farmville was very it was very low stakes. All you did was you go and you fed fake animals and you harvested fake crops or whatever. And Cafe World was very much like that. You're running a cafe and then you got time based or whatever. But like PopCap, like Bejeweled, like Candy Crush, all those sort of things, they've been around for a very long time. So then I went further down the rabbit hole. I was like, all right, when did Neopets come out? Because I would call that cozy gaming, and that's cozy click based gaming that I was playing in, I want to say late primary school, and it is 1991. No, sorry, 1999. It came out. They've just had their 25th year anniversary.
Yeah, wow.
Um, and I was like, okay. And then I went further, and I was like, when did Miniclip start? Because Miniclip was high school, and it's like these games that just didn't take very much out of your day, but you could
Yeah.
potentially play with your friends or like connect with your friends over these games. So I think it has been around for a long time. Even like Sims 1 just had their Legacy Edition release. I think that's 25 years that the first game came out. And like I have played The Sims through each generation, which just tells you how old I am.
I think that makes you feel
And
old
like,
more than that, yeah.
except like now I don't care as much about story based. The
Mm.
latest expansion just came out, and you own a business. And I was like, yes, I want to own my business. I'm like, my interests have changed. It's like the
Playing games a little differently now.
first game out. Lily, my sister, was like, I always just make them woohoo, and I was like, I know, we shared a room. like, I understand what you were doing on The Sims.
Amazing.
um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's been wild, and then yeah, we saw this real, I guess, surge. One with technology, being able to hold bigger and some story based cozy games, and things like Stardew Valley really kicked it off for me. But that was 2020, around 2020.
Yeah. When you mentioned Neopets to me off the podcast before we started, you gave me an idea, something that I hadn't thought about for so long. I don't know if you're familiar with these. I think I've asked you before. There was a series of games called Pets with a Z,
I
PETZ,
I have definitely heard them. I don't know if
dogs
I've
and cats.
played them. Yeah.
1995 was the first
Mhm.
version of this dogs, and we had it on. It would have been on Windows. I don't know what version of Windows back then. Probably Windows 95 probably. And anyway, the whole thing is like you have these animals, these pets that you adopt, and then you look after them and you can feed them and put clothes on them and stuff like that, and give them treats and make them do tricks and all this stuff. But the thing that made them really cool was two things. One, you could breed them, so you could actually play as a dog breeder or a cat breeder and actually try to get these different traits. So there was a lot of people. That was my first foray into web development back when I was in primary school.
We're all like HTML coding MySpace back in
Exactly.
the day.
Yeah, before CSS was a thing. And so that was one thing, but also there was this desktop mode, so you could actually use it kind of like a screensaver. So if you're on your computer
Oh,
anyway, you
that's
just have it
cool.
running in the background, and then your dog's just like walking all around your screen and stuff. And I played all the generations of those, and they were fantastic games, really well done. But I guess that's technically a cozy game. I mean, that's
There's
it's
so many. It's so broad. Like
yeah,
it's so broad.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, they're just we think about. I was reading all these articles, and all of them say pandemic, and I was like, nah, it's been around for a while. Let me go and prove it.
I think just as a bit of a spoiler alert for something we'll talk about towards the end, but I think maybe what happened during the pandemic was a lot of people were streaming these games, and so it became a social type of thing.
Hmm.
And so yeah, they've been around forever, but I think a lot of people were introduced to them or would build communities around them because they were seeing more of them from people playing them. Anything else? Any other games you want to mention, or do you want
I
to dive
mean,
into sort of the reasons?
yeah. Look, I put a question in here to I really sort of unpack what we think cozy games offers players, or cozy books, or whatever. It doesn't really matter what media format it's coming in, but I like for me personally, and there's a few sub questions in here that you've got, so I'll try not to touch upon them too much, but it may just come up sort of naturally.
Yeah, jump in.
Is we see gaming in different ways, or we see reading or whatever we're doing for entertainment in different ways, right? And there's always going to be an argument like for and against whatever it is because the internet exists. But I feel like cozy gaming offers people who want to game but can't necessarily get invested or don't have time to get invested in those big games. And for myself, it's attention. So I recently tried to play Dragon's Dogma because Dragon's Dogma 2 looks sick. And like I would love to be the type of person who could sit there and sink 130 hours into a game. I played it 10 hours, like over 2 days, so I did get invested in it, but then I put it down for months. And I came back to it and I was like, I have no idea where the fuck I am, what I'm doing. Oh, it's a dragon, I'm dead. Like within a matter of like minutes of picking this game back up. Then it crashed because I'm using a very old laptop. Whereas a cozy game for people like me who sometimes will very much dip in and out of wanting to game, I don't need another like story thus far. I don't need to remember what I'm doing. The mechanics are so easy and the gameplay is so easy to pick up that within 20 minutes I'm back in and I understand what I'm doing. And I think it just offered a different way of gaming to people. And same with reading. It offers a different way of getting interested in reading. And like while I shit on things like romantasy sometimes, I don't hate it as a concept because it's still getting people to enjoy those things. It's just something that I don't necessarily enjoy. And I think there's an argument there for cozy games of allowing some, and like you're not real gamers because you're playing cozy games. And I don't know whether that's where your hot topic was was going,
No, but
but
that's also fun. Yeah.
there is there's that I guess us versus them aspect of it. I don't know the right word I'm thinking of here. People who play cozy games are gamers. It's just different. It's like the whole audiobooks aren't reading, it's listening. It's like, well, some
Yeah,
people can
it's
only get their stories through that medium. So
100%. It's elitism that doesn't need to exist, and
elitism, that was the word.
I think in the gaming community, it's definitely you notice it more, probably more than in the book community. It's pretty rampant and pretty gross, and it's always been around. It's pretty gross. So you see it a lot for games, and I think it's complete BS because it's not true. Like any kind of gaming and reading and anything is absolutely valid.
You're allowed to enjoy that thing in the format
Yeah,
that you do. Like there's no stigma around it. You're just allowed to enjoy it.
100%. But I think a lot of cozy games can be like entry points into
Oh, 100%.
gaming, you know, in a more in depth way, you know. But absolutely, they still qualify as a. Are you playing a game? Cool, then you're a gamer. Great, awesome, done.
Are you
Um,
enjoying it? Great. I love that for you. Like
yeah,
even if I don't like it, I love that for you.
yeah. And I think it comes down to like the reason why we do things because like your example of romantasy as a genre, like I also don't have anything against the genre as a concept. I'm fine with it existing. My issues are mostly related to quality and how many of them are out there, and a lot of people thinking that's the pinnacle of reading and not
Mm.
understanding there's more to offer. But when it serves its purpose when it exists as an entry point, and if people are reading it for because they need something to unwind and not think about the stresses of the world. If that's the reason you are picking that up and reading it, great. Do that. That's important, and it's all part of mental well-being. Of course, take care of yourself. But I think it also there is a point to make about there are other things that exist, and that's not what it's not a stopping point. I guess like there are other things to look at,
I
and you
guess
get to
that's
decide whether that's for you or not.
tangent. But is that a? I mean, for me, if people are like, yes, other things exist, but this is where I'm comfortable, this is what I want, like, fine, that's one thing. More power to you. All good. But it's, I guess, the arguments for this is the pinnacle of
Yeah.
literary greatness, and you're showing me a Sarah Mass book, and I'm like, sorry, what? But
Yeah.
also, like, I don't want to shit on it because if you're genuinely enjoying it, then I want you to enjoy that thing. I don't want to stop you from enjoying that thing. But also, you're very wrong,
Yeah,
in
it's
my opinion. Like,
it's when people don't realize there are other things that can serve the same purpose that are better. And sometimes you don't want to come across as, and I know that I'm absolutely very conscious of this, coming across as elitist in that way. But I think those people that choose those types of books or types of games, I think it's still okay to sort of nudge them here and there and say, hey, have you considered this, or do you even know about this one? But when you were telling someone what to read or what to play, that's a different thing entirely.
it's I don't like the older I get, the less I care about what other people are doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like just if you happy, great. That at this current time and the current political climate that we're in, if you're happy, that is all that matters.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
It's like going back
absolutely.
to Witchbrook. I'm like, I'm glad we have a non-problematic witch school to go. Go and
Yes,
support.
exactly right.
And I was like, I'll just, again, I don't want to like shit on anybody. I won't support Harry Potter myself. I'm not going to hate on people who want to get involved, but like for me, no go. And I think you and I understand that very much. But I was like, hey, instead of supporting like the new Harry Potter TV show and putting money into old mates' pockets, go to Witchbrook. You can be in a magic school, and we're not like giving money to shitheads by doing
Absolutely.
that.
And the studio is like against
Oh,
game dev
yeah.
and everything. Like it's great, right? It's a great thing to support.
I'm pretty
But
sure
yeah,
Legacy 2 is coming out at some point. I can't wait. I can't
what's
wait
that?
just to have that. Hogwarts Legacy 2, second one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm completely out of the loop with that. With the whole, I've not looked
it's
into it. I
I
know it's
wish
doing well.
I wish I was. I wish I
Yeah,
was involved in it. Involved in it, like I like have a stake in it. But like I have housemates and partners who partner just before that goes wild on the internet. One partner.
something I should know. Yeah,
No, no. Yeah, it's just anyway, another topic. We can cut that out.
no, no, it's all valid. It's all valid. Um, I so I do want to talk a little bit about like the our approaches to cozy anything, reading, gaming, whatever, TV shows as well, because I've been doing a bit of that too. Is it something that, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but when you're watching some TV shows, that's kind of a sign for you that you need to do a little bit of self care with just cozy stuff. Is that something that you are conscious of and you just kind of let it show up and manifest in that way and then do something about it? Do you do any what I'm considering like preventative cozy gaming or TV?
Preventative care, preventative
Yeah.
self care. Um, I feel like gaming has been pretty consistent for me. It's just changed in what format, and like I've definitely leaned into cozy games now. But it's like I don't have reading slumps. I don't have gaming slumps. It'll just be a different format or a different medium that I'm using. Um, for games, I was talking a little bit about Traveler's Rest before, and talking about how I'm doing a lot of alpha and beta reading. But that game, like a day in that game, is about 20 minutes. Very low stakes. All you're doing is you're running a tavern. You're competing for the fellowship of like the best tavern or whatever. You don't do a whole lot in it. You just sort of run around, you get your crops, you feed your animals, you run a tavern, you run a shift in a tavern at
Mm.
night. And there's things to explore. I can go on the beach and go fish and go like buy and barter groceries and things like that. Um, I will often have that game playing if I'm stuck with alpha and beta reading. Like if my brain is having trouble focusing, I will read 10 pages and then shift gears because that way I can keep the book fresh in my mind, and it's just a way to switch up so that my brain's not staring at one thing and getting bogged down in one thing. It's a way to do that. Similarly with how I was using the Fields of Mystria is a day again is about 20 minutes. So I tend to use cozy gaming as a tool when I need it. But I know that at the end of what I'm doing, so the goal might be to read 100 pages of this beta or alpha read. Once that's done, my gaming is done for the day. It's served the purpose that it needs to, but then I need to unwind and I might go to the TV show. Other times it's like I know that I need to sink a couple of hours into something and I need to not think about that. So I'll start something like Chef RPG, which is very easy for me just to sink, an hour or two into and then move on with my life. So yes and no. I use them
Yeah,
as tools for different.
yeah, that makes sense. And I suppose the other part of that is like um, when a new game pops up, like you might want to spend a bit more time playing it initially or whatever, right? Because it's new. Um, I think I do the same, but also like I notice I'm pretty bad at sort of realizing that. So then what will happen is I'll realize too late, and then I would have just sunk. I don't know, like last night I was watching. There's a show, a medical drama show called The Pit. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's on Binge for us in Australia, and it's like it's not a cozy show at all. It's very not. It's an emergency department. I don't watch medical anything. I don't watch medical dramas. Not my thing. But this one was very highly recommended, and the writing is fantastic. The performances are great. It's a fantastic show. It's not a cozy show, but I was kind of treating it like that because I just needed to turn my brain off and watch something, and I can. it doesn't really matter what I watch. I find a lot of just watching, just the act of watching something to be quite a cozy experience. So I
I
often do
guess
that.
I guess
Yeah,
shows like that are quite formulaic though. So
usually,
any cop drama, any medical drama, they follow formulas,
yeah,
and because you get used to the formula, you know what to expect in those episodes,
hundred
regardless of
percent.
whether the characters change or whatever.
Exactly right. It's the repetition that I find is the cozy part of it. It doesn't really matter what the thing is,
Mm,
it's more the repetition of the thing. So if it's a game, it's like repeating the same thing, or you know what to expect from that, the time that you're going to be spending with it. For the pit, by the way, it's an emergency department in Pittsburgh, hence the name, and each episode is an hour on the clock. So it's like a whole day. The first season is just a whole day in the
right.
emergency department, and it's each hour. So it's quite like high tension. But yet, I watched probably 5 episodes back to back. I was up till 4 a.m. this morning watching it because I just needed to just zone out and just
Mm,
focus on something else for a while, and it served its purpose. It was great. So in that way, it doesn't really matter so much what the thing is. It's more the act of doing it and knowing what it is. So yeah, the formula of it. If it's a book, for example, I'm reading the Expanse series, and that's probably the only book I've read in the last month. There's been a little bit of butter, but then mostly book 6, Babylon's Ashes. And again, it's not necessarily a cozy book. I mean, it can be, but it's more just like the characters are familiar, so you have that familiar aspect of it. Like it's a series, right? So I think that's part of the appeal of a series. It's the same characters, you're familiar with them, and it's a new adventure with those same characters, and that's the cozy aspect for me. So a lot of that is the same across the board for books, games, TV, movies. Doesn't really matter. Movies I find less to be a cozy experience just because you have, let's say, 2 hours, and it's a whole story usually, and it's with characters that you're introduced to, and then go through the whole movie and then the
mm.
conclusion. So you don't really get that, get to know them. So I find TV shows to be way more cozy in that way. Things like Star Trek for me is just absolute. That's popcorn cozy
And yeah,
TV
there's you got the nostalgia aspect in there as well.
for
It's
sure.
interesting because I don't tend to gravitate towards cozy anything outside of gaming, really. And like I'm thinking of the TV shows that I'm watching, and Wheel of Time is something that I'm watching with Rachel. I'm enjoying watching it with her for that. But like mid-century modern is definitely just this is just fun. It's campy. It's I don't need any brain power. But what I would normally gravitate towards is high drama,
Yeah, sure.
and I'm not doing that
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
don't have the brain space for it. We're trying to
yeah,
finish Fellow Travelers for fucking forever. There's only 8 episodes in it, but it's so high drama that I'm like, my brain cannot be doing that right now.
yeah, yeah, for sure. There's shows that I'm in the middle of, and yeah, choosing not to watch them just because I don't have the capacity to. Umbrella Academy is one of those for me. I want to finish. I haven't watched the latest season, but I just can't bring myself to watch it because I just know how much I'm going to have to be like.
You have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Cool. Um, any other? Oh, I had some questions for you actually. What are my questions for you? Oh, I was going to ask you, what is the opposite of a cozy game for you? Like are there things that you choose to play for the opposite reason because you need like the stimulation of the thing that you're experiencing,
I
or
read I read for that, and this will tie into why I don't love cozy books. There are some which I've enjoyed, but I think cozy books. When I think of cozy, I would argue that a lot of the time it's it's not 100% cozy. It's just a feeling. The stakes are lower. Like I've got
yeah,
Legends and Lattes beside me, which is not one I've read and probably one I
yes,
won't read.
similar.
I'm not super intrigued by this book,
Mhm.
but this is my housemate's copy. It says a novel of high fantasy and low stakes. Now I love high fantasy. I don't give a shit about low stakes. Like,
In book
because
form, yeah,
in book form, because if I'm investing my time in a book, I either want something quite thematically heavy or something that I can live in. Like I want to be there. But I have this, but then I also have this, which is a cozy book here, and I love this book. And this is The Bartender Between Worlds by Herman Steuernagel.
mm,
Now this and like cool artwork and stuff as
that's
well.
cool.
I do love whiskey, so and a big draw of this book was that there are cocktail cards in it. So he actually created cocktails for the book, and you go through as they create the cocktails. They're like pivotal scenes in the book where we're character building and they're creating them together. but it is cozy, but there are still consequences and there are still stakes. We are still following a storyline, and I guess as a plot-driven reader, I also need that to drive me forward. But I really enjoyed this. Another one I really enjoyed is called The Nameless Restaurant by Tao Wong, and Tao Wong is quite big in lit RPG and progression fantasy. I think this dude releases a book a month. I don't know, like there's so many of them, and he wrote this cozy book or novella. It's a novella series, and all it is about a chef who puts so much like love and passion into his cooking, and you sort of get snippets of his other worlds from the people who come and eat at this restaurant. And it's just a way, like a really cool way to have Easter eggs for his other stories. Like you're dealing with characters that come to this restaurant and they eat and they talk about whatever's happening in a different series. I don't need to know that as the reader. And that's probably the coziest thing I've read because there's no point. There's no plot.
Mm.
It's just we're there. But I will say that sometimes cozy in terms of plot, but there's not a lot happening, can be very thematically heavy. And we're dealing with a theme that we're sitting with and we're encouraged to sit with. And I can like those. But yeah, I don't tend to gravitate towards books that just have
Yeah, yeah,
nothing
same.
else happening.
I think if a book is marketed as a cozy book, I'm pretty
I'm
much
so
not.
turned off. I'm
Yeah,
like the second that this got big, I mean, one, I hate a hype train. I
yeah.
I can't stand like as soon as something gets hyped, I'm like, I don't care anymore. And this is still fucking
I
hyped. Like
know, I know,
maybe in a decade when the third one's going to come out, I think this year.
I know.
Um, but yeah, I
Even I
don't know.
know that, but I'm not plugged into the
Yeah,
hype. But even I know that because I got friends who've read it and said it's great. I can't bring myself to do it. No, hate or
no,
anything.
yeah, absolutely. Like what you like, whatever. Like it's not for us to say, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
just not something I tend to gravitate towards.
no, yeah.
Give me your hot take. Watching other people enjoy cozy storytelling, because I mean, you've watched me play storytelling. I'm not an influencer though. I'm just in Discord, hanging out,
Yeah.
chatting.
And that's what it comes down to. So my hot take is, I guess it's not really a hot take, but it's
Your lukewarm take.
I think a lot of people are probably on the same page for this, but I've noticed it happening a lot, and it was kind of why I got out of streaming, and it's because of, I don't know if you've heard the term like influencer marketing. Basically, I think cozy gaming in particular is one of the areas where I've seen this the most. I guess it happens in with books as well, but mostly with games because a lot of the companies behind them can be bigger, still indie probably, but bigger uh, developers and publishers. And there's a lot of people that are promoting these particular cozy games that are paid for their reviews of these games, and they're promoting them to be these amazing games that everyone has to play. And you've probably heard, I'm not going to name any of them, but you've probably seen like advertising on Instagram for some of these games because they have these big promotional periods where they're trying to get a lot of people to talk about these games and really hype them up. But a lot of these people are just like influencers, streamers, YouTubers, whatever, and they're getting paid for their reviews, and they're really just basically blatantly lying and saying how amazing these games are when they don't.
I would like to think my bullshit radar is pretty like fine tuned nowadays. But the only gaming streamer I watched was you because you're a friend. Like I don't love what I mean, and I also like enjoy watching Rachel and Jim play games.
Yeah.
But that's just because I can dip in and out of a room physically, like to be there. Um, the only one I can think of really, and I'll name and shame, I don't care, is Sharky Games. And I follow him on YouTube, but I believe he doesn't stream it. He like pre-records and puts it
Mhm.
onto his YouTube channel. And that dude has put so many hours into Stardew Valley, I like throws me to shame because he does challenges all the time. And that's how I initially like came to his channel. I don't know if he streams because I don't like I'm not on Twitch. I don't follow Twitch very closely.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't anymore either. I
but
just know there's a lot of, like, for example, a lot of the Sims streamers who are paid to make content for the game, like to put out game packs for the game, and then also review their own like item packs.
so dodgy.
I know
Like
on
why?
and then also want people to use their own, like, their gamer creator codes to get more more money from the, and it's just like we've taken a turn where I think people are now realizing what's happening, but I think it's happening a lot with what we call influencers. I still hate the term, but a lot of streamers fall into that category, and we're seeing it a lot with these like cozy games because a lot of these kinds of influencers are quite big. They have quite a following because a lot of people kind of just enjoy being a part of that community. But it is a little bit gross, and I'm just noticing it a lot. So that was one of the reasons I kind of got out of
It's
streaming pretty early.
materialism and capitalism at its finest, right?
Yeah, it's pretty rampant over there. Anyway, that's not a hot take by any stretch. I think most people kind of agree these days, but it's just something I wanted to mention because I'm seeing it a lot with the cozy gaming genre.
I mean, I love a cozy game. It's been such a fun episode. We've
Yeah,
definitely gone over time. I have no idea how long we've been talking.
it's about an hour. It's pretty much on
Roughly an hour.
time. But yeah,
Plants vs Zombies. Remember that? That was a cozy game. That was a cozy game that wasn't cozy at all.
whew, for sure. Yeah, that was a good chat. I will probably be playing a lot more JRPGs going forward. I kind of I've gotten way back into my whole backlog battle, my RPG quest thing that I was
The
doing.
backlog battle. We
Yeah,
do an episode on that. What an
yeah,
episode title.
absolutely, for sure.
Um,
That'll definitely go over longer than an hour.
I mean, I feel like I keep buying shit every time Steam has a sale. I just
Oh
don't.
yeah,
I just don't play it. And like, I know I can't play first-person games, and yet I have all of the Bioshocks. I was like, I know I'm just going to feel sick in like an hour. If I play it, I would love to be the person who could sit down and sink many hours into a game. I really want to go back and play Octopath Traveler and finish it, and then play the second one.
oh dude, the
I would
second one.
say I would say that's not a cozy game. That's a JRPG. It's a very story-based game.
Even
But
though I consider a lot of JRPGs to be cozy games, I wouldn't call that one. It's
so
quite
I feel like
tense.
it's been years since I picked it up, so I would have to start again. I have no
Yeah.
idea. But then, like for me, I get 10 hours into something, I'm like, nah, move on. Something else in my
I
life.
I dropped the first one because I wasn't into it. The second one is a lot better, but I did the same thing. I played about 10 hours. Stopped.
Um, but yeah,
Cool, awesome.
look, if you're ever interested in multiplaying a cozy game, Traveler's Rest just got a multiplayer update. You
Look,
want
I
to
will
run a
check
tavern
it
with me?
out. Yeah. Or you can play Monster Hunter with me.
All right, we'll deal. We'll do a swap. We'll report back in
All
12 months' time. We've done it.
right. By next episode, probably not.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have $100 by next episode.
All right, cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up for today. Anything else that we've missed, or you're pretty much done?
No, pretty much done. This is a fun topic, though. If anyone wants us to keep talking about cozy gaming and whinging about cozy books, that's not.
Yeah. So I'm
Um,
curious what everyone's thoughts are on cozy reading. Like, what does that look like for you? Is that something that you participate in? And yeah, with everything else as well, TV shows, games. What does everyone else? What are your definitions of cozy games and books and things? And how do you partake in that stuff?
cool. All right. Well, for anyone watching or anyone who wants to watch the video of the podcast, head on over to Genre Blender Podcast on YouTube. Audio only versions are available on Apple Podcast and Spotify in your podcast app of choice, and you'll find our show notes as well as links to the TV, the games, the books that we talk about in the description box down below. You can follow us over at Genre Blender Podcast on Instagram, or visit genreblenderpodcast.com for all of our social media links across the web. You can find me at A Fictional Escapist on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and Ryan is over at ryan.floyd on Instagram and ryanfloyd.com on Blue Sky.
Cool. And to all the world hoppers out there, we wish you safe travels. And we'll catch you in the next episode. We should be in 2 weeks' time, so we're back to our regular scheduling. Don't know what the topic will be. We'll find out when you find out. But
Yeah,
till then,
but until then,
take care, y'all.
see
See you
ya.
next
Bye.
time.